This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's up, real MVPs? Ricky Widmer here, and welcome into another edition of the Onside Kick right here on MVP Sports or on MVP Vids if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I am joined with my co-host, my partner in crime, my Robin, my Superman, however you want to look at it, JD, the Don of MVP. How we doing today, brother?
We're doing great, my guy.
I'm gonna need, I know you worked all day. For this one, I'm gonna need a little bit more excitement, JD. This is the beginning of a journey. A journey starts today, JD.
Yeah, I know. A journey starts, 'cause, you know, sometimes real life just overdoes you.
So I say a journey starts today because if you do not see from the title of this podcast, this is our first mock draft for this year. We're doing things a little bit different, or we're going back to basics, JD. We're going back to our roots. For a while now, probably I'll say the post-COVID days. We did mock drafts very individually. I'd come out with a video. It'd be me talking about my mock draft. You guys would call me an idiot, and then we'd move on to the next one. We're going back to the pre-COVID days, JD. The pre-COVID days were from this point forward, mock drafts will be on the Onside Kick. We are bringing them back to the podcast so we can kind of discuss these things. That means big boards, JD. I know we only did one big board where it was JD's personal big board, but we're bringing the big boards back to the podcast as well. Those will be on the draft room. So mock drafts on the Onside Kick, big boards on the draft room. Both of those will drop this week. So
Also,
JD, go ahead.
Should say, if you're listening to us on a listening device, Spotify, Apple, or Apple Music or whatever they call it, this might be an episode you want to watch on YouTube since we have graphics that could help you see see what we're doing.
We will have our graphics. So as I read off the order, we will have the graphics up. So you want to check them out on YouTube, you can for that. Or if you're in the car, like JD, this isn't back in the day. I can't turn on my my YouTube app on my phone and close my phone. If you're driving in the car, don't open your YouTube right now. Continue listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. But JD is correct. We will have graphics for our YouTube friends and Rumble friends out there as well. Before we get into everything, though, quick housekeeping. It's pretty much the same today. You can check out the Discord, greatest community in the universe. The MVP Discord is down below. We have some great community members. It's kind of where the fans and us can kind of talk about the sports we love each and every day. That link is down below, along with our Patreon link. If you want some extra perks, some extra behind the scenes access, if I can say that right, JD, the patrons got to see or had the access to see our mock draft as we're making it. I posted it. It's a little weird. In the off season, it'll be at least a week before. But during the season, we don't get the draft order until like Monday night. So really, it's like a 2-day window. You get to see what we're working with during the season. After the season, it'll be a full week window of kind of how we're doing things. But Patreon link is down below. All our socials are down below as well, so you can keep track with us there. If you love the podcast, hit that subscribe button on YouTube or that follow on podcast services. If you like it, hit that like button and let us know what you guys think in the comment section down below. But JD, let's start this one off. We're going to go through, start with number one. We're breaking this up into 3 easy segments. I'm going to let you go first. Give me your, by the way, before we go through this, the order of this draft is dictated by Super Bowl odds at this moment. So, it was like on Tuesday morning, I put in the order. So it is off of Super Bowl odds, not off of record, just so you know. All right, JD, what's your top 10? Who you got? What you got going on?
So with the number 1 pick, I have the Carolina Panthers selecting Carson Beck, the quarterback from Georgia. At number 2, I have the Giants selecting Quinn Ewers, quarterback from Texas. 3, I have the Broncos taking Will Campbell, the offensive tackle from LSU. And then 4, I have the Patriots taking Calvin Banks Jr., offensive tackle from Texas. Number 5, I have the Titans taking James Pierce Jr., edge from Tennessee. Then I have the Commanders taking Will Johnson, the cornerback from Michigan. Then I have the Raiders taking Mason Graham, the defensive lineman from Michigan. And then I have the Colts taking Tet- Tetaroa McMillan from Arizona. Wide receiver from Arizona. Then I have the Colts taking, I have the Jaguars then taking Travis Hunter, the wide receiver slash cornerback from Colorado. And then at 10, I have the Rams taking Benjamin Morrison, the cornerback from Notre Dame.
And if we go right into mine, I've got the Panthers at number 1, following JD's order as well. Carson Beck, quarterback out of Georgia, the Panthers at 1. I have the Giants at 2, going with Shadur Sanders, the quarterback out of Colorado. Following that at number 3, I've got the Broncos going with his teammate Travis Hunter. I think it's Travis Hunter the third, technically. Or is that Luther Burden? I'm thinking of Travis Hunter out of Colorado, wide receiver, cornerback. I got the Patriots going with Will Johnson, cornerback out of Michigan. The Titans going with James Pierce Jr., the edge rusher out of Tennessee. Commanders going with Will Campbell, the O tackle out of LSU. The Raiders going with Benjamin Morrison, the cornerback out of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. The Colts at 8 going with, Mikel? We totally looked into this before, and I knew I'm going to get these names. Yeah. Mikel Williams, edge rusher out of Georgia. Right behind him, the Jaguars going with Malachi Starks, his teammate, the safety out of Georgia. And then the Rams closing up this top 10, Calvin Banks Jr., the offensive tackle out of Texas. So, JD, that brings us to the top 10. First team I think we have to start with is the Carolina Panthers. And this kind of works out because I was going to ask you on Monday, but I didn't. Should we do an emergency podcast? But I'm like, you know what? It'll probably come up in this with the Panthers at number 1, what they're going to do. The big news is that Bryce Young hates it, by the way. Why wouldn't he? But the Carolina Panthers have benched Bryce Young. We don't know how long this is going to be, how many weeks it'll last. Is this permanent, not permanent? In your mind, JD, already 2 weeks into the season, is this the Panthers telling us the Bryce Young experiment is over and we are looking for a quarterback this year in the draft?
No, I don't think it's the Panthers saying that. I think that they are just trying to get him right mentally. Because clearly there's something wrong. I was not the biggest Bryce Young fan coming out of college because his size was way too small for my liking. But undoubtedly, he had the talent. He was an amazing college quarterback. And I don't think he just forgot how to play football overnight. But he has looked horrible from his rookie season and now the first 2 weeks of this season. He looks like he doesn't belong.
Yeah.
So I don't think this is the Panthers saying, okay, we're done with this. But I had them taking Carson Beck just because, I mean, this is the first mock draft, but I think they learned their lesson potentially from drafting a tiny quarterback, and now they're going to go with the stereotypical pocket passer. I know he can kind of run, but that big-bodied quarterback.
Now, I will say this, and yet again, this is kind of this will be a theme within mock drafts this year. I'm actually going to bring it up a little bit later with a team we talk about later in the draft, but the thing that I will be interested to see is right now, 2 or 3 weeks into the college season, I'll be honest, Carson Beck's the only quarter. Like, there are two quarterbacks that have impressed me. One, Carson Beck. We talked about him first draft room, and we were like, you know what? We got to wait and see. Is he just going to be another Georgia quarterback? Because we all know how Georgia quarterbacks after Matthew Stafford pan in the NFL. Not so great. But all the other, like Shadur hasn't impressed me. Quinn Ewers, he's now injured. And I feel like with Quinn, we'll get into this later because I know that you have him drafted, but I want to shelf it because the conversation we're going to have about a team will be about Texas. He could be benched the whole year if Arch Manning takes his job. So it's like, to me, the only two quarterbacks that have impressed, Carson Beck and then my boy Cam Ward. This is not going to be a deep like this will either be a 3-4 dog race and it's like, okay, we're back to a deep class, JD, or I have a worry that this will be, wow, Carson Beck is the guy, and we'll see if any team has to take a stab on the other three just because they'll need a quarterback.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I agree with you with that because I have not been impressed with the quarterback play of these draft prospects. Quinn Ewers, he looked really good in their last game before getting hurt, which is a shame. But I still like his fundamentals. As I've said on a previous video before, or podcast before, I think he has a high floor.
Yeah.
So I think that helps him. But with the Panthers, I think it's either going to be Carson Beck or, I mean, they could wait a year. Quite honestly, they could give Young another year to prove himself and maybe draft an edge rusher or offensive tackle with the number 1 pick. But just for this one, I think I'm landing on quarterback, and because maybe they don't want to risk a future prospect to falling off like a Nico out of Tennessee, because he's the projected number 1 pick for the 2026 draft, and obviously guy looks really good, but it's kind of hard predicting things like that. I guess 2 years from, or a year and a half from now.
Off the cuff. See, here's the thing. Off the cuff question when it comes to Quinn Ewers, really quick, because the quarterbacks, this is a conversation really with the quarterbacks too, is I will ask you, hypothetically, the only reason why I don't have Quinn Ewers in my top 10 is because of his injury. And it's not necessarily the injury itself, because you're right, he was playing well in the first 3 games. But here's what I think is going to happen, and I'm going to ask you just your percentage of if this happens and what he should do. Arch Manning balled out in that. He came in for Quinn, and it was like, I'm here. I am the next coming of football Jesus here. I am Arch Manning. Also, JD, the MVP curse strikes again. Because what happened? JD on a podcast said, Arch is not going to be that good. Oh, he's only here because his name's Manning.
No, okay, you're overblowing. I did not say that. I said I think if
the
his
words
name
did come out of your
Arch,
mouth that he wouldn't be at Texas if his name wasn't Manning.
No, it wasn't if he wouldn't be at Texas. I don't think he'd be the number 1 player in the country in his recruiting class if his name wasn't Manning. I would say he's probably more of a high 4-star talent.
The point being, you said that about Arch Manning.
Oh, I know.
And then he said,
I
hold this fat L for you. The MVP curse. I think I'm more excited that the MVP curse just stays alive. Each week I'm like, what thing will we say that'll completely, the opposite will happen? And usually it's us being dead wrong, which I'm very excited for. But let's say Arch Manning continues this success and Quinn Ewers, he'll have a choice to make. Let's say Texas goes, hey, Arch is playing way too well. We're not going back to you, Quinn. If you're Quinn, what decision do you make? You got 2 decisions you can make. One, you can say, well, this is my 4th year of eligibility. I'm going to come out and come into the draft Or, correct me if I'm wrong, because he only played 3 games, they can slap him with a red shirt and he can transfer somewhere. Hi, everybody. Just want to take a quick moment out of today's podcast to tell you about our sponsor for today, BETUS, a sports book that has it all, whether it's basketball, hockey, football, soccer, whatever you like to bet on, BETUS has you covered. And they are offering our viewers and listeners today a 125% sign-up bonus just for using our link down below in the description. So go ahead, use that link down below and get your 125% sign-up bonus, BETUS. And now, let's get back to the podcast.
I'm pretty sure he already redshirted last year.
Did he redshirt last year?
Yeah.
After the 12 games he played?
He played in 12 games last year?
Yep. So here's what I have. In 2021, he enrolled at Ohio State. Joined the team.
Quinn Ewers, you're talking about.
Yeah, Quinn Ewers, not Arch.
Sorry, I thought you were
No, Quinn.
No, he already did a redshirt. He redshirted because he was an early enrollee.
Did he redshirt at Ohio State?
Yeah, because this is like his true freshman season. He played 1 game and that was their bowl game. And then it
says here he made his debut against Michigan State in November.
Yeah.
So basically, my question here's my question then. If you're Quinn Ewers, let's say they go, we're keeping with Arch, we can't go back to you. Do you come out into this draft class, or do you say I'm going to transfer somewhere else and I'll come out next draft class?
Yeah, if they go with Arch, if they just say, "Okay, Quinn, sorry, bud, we're done," then yeah, he's definitely going to transfer and then play his senior season because it looks horrible. You're not going to go in the first round if you get benched. Replace benched, however you want to frame it. So yeah, he would probably transfer to he'd go to another Power 5 school because he's proven that he
can win,
that he can play. Yeah, he can win and play good. So yeah, and he would just have to build up his draft stock again. So he would probably, going into next year, if he got benched, he'd probably be like a third round, second round prospect if he gets benched, just because that's you don't really see that, and I feel like it has some bad taste if it happens.
Well, and I'll be honest, and this is if he did come out, it would be basically he'd be the Drew Bledsoe of college. He was playing well. He got injured. And then, by the way, this young kid comes in, Tom Brady. If they stick with Arch and he continues to play well, by the way, don't be surprised if ESPN and everyone runs with, he's the Tom Brady of college, because that's going to happen. But with the Panthers, I think that I'll ask you this. At the end of the year, yes, both you and I have Carson Beck at number 1. What's the percentage? I'm going to say maybe 25% chance, and if anybody, it's Shedeur. I think it's a 75% chance if the Panthers are number 1, Carson Beck's the guy, not Shedeur Sanders.
If the Panthers are selecting number 1, with Carson Beck, I would say there's probably, I would lean right now a 55% chance, but I don't think it would be another quarterback. I lean more like just a different position.
Okay. So you think they could just go not quarterback altogether because they still have Bryce Young?
Exactly. So I think it's either the 55% that the pick is Carson Beck, and then the other 45% it being just a different position.
Well, moving on to the next team you wanted to talk about, I'm going to let you take this away. But I'm going to sneak in a question here because you know me. I like to sneak in questions. Travis Hunter. You got Travis Hunter at number 9 overall. For anyone in the comment section that is going to say that having him outside the top 5 is criminal, why did you have Travis Hunter fall out of the top 5? Seems like a top 5 guy on big boards. Probably even a top 3 guy on big boards, I'll assume. What was your thought process having him at 9? Because I had him to the Broncos, the team you wanted to talk about.
Honestly, this was more of a a positional need.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Broncos need offensive tackle more than they could use a wide receiver or corner.
Okay.
And I know before people say, "Oh, well, no, you take BPA," and you're right. But let's remember, this is only a 1.0. There's guys that I just want to fit on here
Mm-hmm.
for just for name recognition, and then also just with fit.
Yeah.
So Travis Hunter, again, you'll see you got to tune into our big board,
Mm-hmm.
but I do really like him.
Yeah.
But my thinking here is I have McMillan as a better wide receiver right now. I think he's also having a better season than Hunter right now
Mm-hmm.
at wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of played into him falling. But I value the offensive tackle more for the Broncos. I think Will Campbell has potential to come in day one and be an elite starting offensive tackle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really just what it came down to. I love Travis Hunter. I think there's a very, very good chance he does go top 5.
Mm-hmm.
But just in this one, it was kind of hard to fit each of these players into the right situation.
Yeah.
And ultimately that's just kind of what it came down to for me.
I'll be honest, this was not an easy pick for me. The reason why I settled on Hunter is not even because he'd be BPA here. It's because to me, the two most important needs on this team are cornerback and wide receiver. And basically, this is a pick that I believe, hey, let's take Travis Hunter. He's going to work out at one of them. Either we test him out at corner, test him out at wide receiver. Me personally, I think he'll be a wide receiver in the league, more so than a corner. Because as we talked about, like, I don't think he has the physicality to be a corner. Like, he's not that that Jalen Ramsey dog as a corner. And some people are going to come after me as that. I think he's a better wide receiver. And with this Bronco team, their wide receivers need some talent. Also, Cortland Sutton, after next year, he could be gone. And then you really got no one because Mims hasn't stepped up yet. Troy Franklin is a rookie. Like, they're hoping the Bo Nix, Troy Franklin chemistry pans out. But let's be obvious, Bo Nix is never going to pan out because he sucks. He's worse than Will Levis in my mind, and that's saying something because my boy Will Levis has got the bad mojo in his head, and I don't know what he's doing. It's hard to defend that guy. It's hard to defend
brother. When you planted that flag, I was like, all right, that's all you, brother. I'll watch you.
I said this at work. By the way, Ultimate Autographs, go ahead, check them out. If you want sports memorabilia, plug for my company. But I said this at work, JD. I said, it's kind of like watching him. You ever watch a guy before like the senior season and you go, this guy has every tool to be successful. Then he has a bad last year and you're like, you know what? It was the team. He didn't have a good year because Kentucky wasn't that good. The coaching wasn't that good. He'll be better in the NFL. Then he lands in the Titans and you're like, year one, it was Mike Vrabel's fault. Didn't set him up for success. He's going to be good. And then like that third year happens. You're just like, all right, maybe it's just you. Maybe it's just him and he has all the talent. He just doesn't know, like either he doesn't know how to do it or the coach doesn't know how to do it. Like, I don't know. It's bad right now. I cannot defend Will Levis right now.
I'll say this. If he was ever going to have a good year, this would be the year because Brian Callahan has worked with lots of good quarterbacks and usually finds a way to get the most out of them.
Yeah.
And Will Levis he's been horrible.
It's only been 2 games.
Yeah, 2 games, and this guy turns over the ball it's pancakes.
He looked a lot better last year. I'm hoping that Brian Callahan can get through to him. Otherwise, I will say him coming out and being like, oh, he's a grown adult. And like, I like the Brian Callahan saying things to the press that not a lot of coaches kind of putting him on blast. But at the same time, I look at it and go, you want this guy to play better. Are you trying to kill all his confidence?
Or he doesn't want to play better because
Or he
remember
doesn't want him to play better.
that's not his quarterback, right?
I get that, but it's just like, then get rid of him, trade him, let him go somewhere else, and get a change of scenery. But with the Broncos, back to the Broncos, I went with the Travis Hunter because, wide receiver, corner are their top two needs. But I'll be completely honest, you could make a debate here that Travis Hunter should be the dude, that Will Johnson should be the dude, that Will Campbell should be the dude, or that Mason Graham should be the dude. Any of those positions, corner, wide receiver, tackle, D-line, any of them, you could be like, that's the pick here at number 3.
Yeah, exactly. And like, this is the thing as of right now, I guess it would be going into week 4. Yeah, week 4 of the college football season.
Yeah.
The non-quarterbacks, I guess you could say like non-quarterback top 10 players. You can make an argument for each and one of them. Like, I feel like there's not much separating the top 10. So that's what also made it hard. I feel like each of these players are performing at a similar level. And I know early sample size, that's probably why.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what I'm looking at. And then that's why I kind of went back to also what has happened last year with like certain prospects where, I mean, they showed their potential a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I agree. I mean, with the Broncos, like, again, they have a lot of holes. They're not a very good football team. And then that's kind of why I landed with the offensive tackle because when in doubt, protect your future quarterback, even if that guy isn't Bo Nix.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt to have an
Well, it's going to be Bo
line.
Nix as long as Sean Payton's there because that's his quarterback you wanted.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you're right. But let's see how that works out.
I will say one of the names I mentioned, and I have him going to a team we're going to talk about next in the last part of the top 10. Mason Graham, to me, is a dude that, and I'm only saying this because you have him in the top 10, I don't. He's a top 10 prospect, but I just have a feeling, and I know it's early on, we have a lot of draft coverage to go, JD. We have a long way until the end of April. I just have a feeling that Mason Graham or Starks, the safety out of Georgia, those could be our two fallers. There's always a faller, a guy that's like, oh, this guy's a top 10. And then you're like, wait, like last year, Dallas Turner. Oh, he's like, that's a top 5 pick. Wait, what? Wait, what? Wait. He didn't get drafted there? He didn't get drafted there? He didn't get drafted there? Wait, what is going? Like, we were sitting there going, all right, who'd he shoot? This guy had to have killed somebody, right? That we don't know about. He had to like murder a baby or something. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they had to do something catastrophically evil. Nope, he just fell. Like, there is going to be someone, and I think Mason Graham is gonna. It's either him or Starks are gonna be one of the two that is gonna fall. Last thing in this top 10 I want to talk about. We mentioned the Titans with Will Levis. Could be looking to move on. I know he's got 2 years on his contract after this one. Another team in the top 10 that could be looking quarterback, the Las Vegas Raiders. They have Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell under contract. Minshew is up 1 more year after this. Aiden O'Connell 2 more years after this. JD, in your mind, what are the odds that when we get to April 2025, the script is changed on the Titans and the Raiders, and instead of us going with edge rush or like with the really we went defense for both teams. Instead of us going defense, it's going to be no one or if both of these teams will be looking for a quarterback.
Yeah, I definitely think both teams will be looking for a quarterback. Now, my reasoning for let's say for the Titans and the Raiders to not go quarterback here is just one, the top 2 didn't fall to them.
Yeah.
Either of the top 2. And sure, obviously you can still make the argument for Shedeur. I personally don't love him as a prospect. So I think taking him in the top 10 right now would not be good. But I definitely think the Raiders will be looking for quarterback. I think they're gonna kind of hope that they suck and have a top 3 pick to kind of ensure that they get one of those top quarterbacks. Um, I know they just beat the Ravens, so who knows? But yeah, I mean, my thinking here with Mason Graham is that you get another very good uh pass rusher. Well, not necessarily pass rusher,
D
but
lineman,
defensive, yeah, D
interior.
lineman. Because I the reason why I pause at the pass rushing aspect is because from what I've seen from him, he relies on just being bigger than I don't want to say than the other offensive linemen, but he relies on his strength a little too much. I don't love his hand like his hands
Yeah.
and his I think he needs to add a bit more pass rush moves to his tool belt there. Um so I feel like his floor is just a very good run stopping defensive tackle, so like a nose tackle. And nose tackles don't go in the top 10,
Yeah.
obviously. So that's kind of if he doesn't really
Kind of
show any
leads into my where he might be the one that falls.
yes. Yeah, because again, if he doesn't show any progression in his pass rush game more than just overpowering the opposing offensive lineman,
Yeah.
then yeah, I think that will cause him to fall. And I know you mentioned Starks briefly. For you, again, you had him in your top 10. Um, I could
I only bring up Starks because I will say disclaimer, we were going to use Tankathon, which I was going to very interesting because the Ravens would have been a top 10 team, which would have been fun. But then you were like, no, everyone else is doing Super Bowl odds, so we should do that. And I went, fine. We're not going to have fun here. In the first one, Starks was falling for me. That's why I kind of throw his name in there.
yeah, and Starks is very good, but again, this is just a personal vendetta I have.
Against
Is
safeties.
yeah, I don't think you should be taking a safety in the top 10. I
Yeah.
think maybe you can make the argument in like anywhere from pick 17 and later. But I don't think it's good value drafting a safety in the top 10 because it just hasn't really worked. I want to say so you where did oh what's his name? Where did Adams go? Was he I think he was a top 10 pick. Jamal
Jamal
Adams.
Adams? Yeah, I think it was 5.
Yeah, and I mean he was good for a while. I mean he's still good, but I mean I don't know. I don't think safeties
6th overall pick. Damn, I'm
yeah.
good.
Yeah, I don't think safeties add that much value to warrant a first like or sorry, a top 10 pick, and it rarely works out.
Do you know the 5 people that went above Jamal Adams?
Brother, I don't even really remember what draft that was. What was it, 2017? 2017,
You
you
know
have
1 and 2.
yeah, well, yeah, that was Baker, right?
Nope.
That wasn't the Baker draft?
The Mitch Trubisky draft.
Oh, brother.
So
I'm drawing a blank.
Myles Garrett went 1.
Oh, Myles Garrett that
Mitch
year.
Trubisky went 2. Should have went 3. Solomon Thomas should have went 2. Went 3. Jaguars took Leonard Fournette at 4, and then the Titans took Corey Davis at 5.
Oh, dude, I forgot about Corey Davis. I really liked him.
Mike Williams went 7 to the Chargers, and then Christian McCaffrey 8 to the Panthers.
Yeah. Dang. I forgot that Fournette went above.
Yeah. You want to hear something crazy?
That was the greatest like running back draft.
Yeah. Well, you also had
Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara.
You want to know the funny thing about that draft?
What?
Both Christian McCaffrey and Patrick Mahomes, bottom half of the top 10, number 1 in their position now.
Yep.
Just it works out that way, and the 2 guys drafted ahead of him, Leonard Fournette, I don't even think he's in the league anymore.
Yeah, I think
he is not. He played for the Bills last year. He's not in the league right now. And Mitch is clinging on to a job with the Bills. He's just clinging on for dear life. But I'll be honest, I don't know if either of these teams go quarterback because of the thing I said earlier. I don't think this quarterback draft is going to be as deep as we want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be Beck and Shadur. It'll be at the end of the year, Beck and Shadur, bona fide top 10 picks. Cam Ward will be that, like, he's good, but he's not top 10 good. At the most, I could see Cam Ward, even though I love him, being like a mid first round guy. Like, that's his ceiling of how far he like rises up. But to me, if I'm looking at it, he'll probably, if it's a great season, he'll be like the Lamar Jackson, where a team will trade up at 32 or trade up in the late first to get that option on him. I don't think the Titans or the Raiders are going to be looking for a quarterback this year just because of the class that we have. But let's move on 11 through 20 now. And JD, I'll ask you, what do you got 11 through 20?
So at 11, I have the Cardinals taking Michael Williams, the edge from Georgia. At 12, I have the Vikings taking Malachi Starks, safety from Georgia. At 13, I have the Bears taking Jonah Sava. We said it.
Savania.
Savania. Interior offensive line from Arizona. And then I have at 14, the Browns taking Shedeur Sanders, quarterback from Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
At 15, I have the Seahawks taking Nick Scruton, edge from Texas A&M. At 16, I have the Steelers taking Luther Burden III, wide receiver from Mizzou.
Mm-hmm.
At 17, I have the Chargers taking Kenneth Grant, defensive line, Michigan. At 18, I have the Bucks taking Abdul Carter, edge from Penn State. And at 19, I have the Dolphins taking Harold Perkins Jr., edge / linebacker from LSU. And then at 20, I have the Falcons taking Denzel Burke, cornerback from The Ohio State University.
All right. For my 11 through 20, let me pull up our mock real quick. I've got Mason Graham, D-line out of Michigan, going to the Cardinals at 11. Luther Burden, the third wide receiver from Mizzou, coming to my Minnesota Vikings. Skull. The Bears at 13, going with Nick Scruton out of Texas A&M, the edge rusher. The Browns going with, what is it? Tetaroa is what we said, McMillan, wide receiver out of Arizona. Seahawks at 15, going with Abdul Carter, edge rusher out of Penn State. The Steelers at 16, going with Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver from the Ohio State. Chargers at 13, going with, Deion Walker, D lineman out of Kentucky. Bucks at 18, going with Denzel Burke, cornerback out of the Ohio State University. 19, the Dolphins going with a Michigan man, Kenneth Grant, D lineman out of Michigan. And the Falcons, they're going to go at 20 with Harold Perkins Jr., linebacker / edge rusher out of LSU. I got one bone to pick with you, JD, and it's really not a my bone. It's just, I think a lot of people are going to have this bone to pick with you. Just very quickly, Falcons at 20. This team we clowned on for not going with their biggest need of edge rusher in the first round last year. And what do you have? I know mine. Technically could be a linebacker more than an edge rusher, but he is listed as both. But you said, nope, screw that. We're going to go with a position completely different than edge rusher. So they're going to do it again. They're putting the need down the line.
Well, yeah, because their need is edge rusher. I mean, sure, they could draft a defensive tackle.
They'll probably trade up
as a pass rusher, but if you look at my board or my draft up to this point, the next best edge rusher, in my opinion, is JT Tuimoloau.
Same.
So, I mean, sure, I guess there's an argument you could have him going up to 20, but at this point in time, I don't think it makes sense. So with Denzel Burke, they're getting another very good cornerback, good range, lengthy corner, and they're adding to what could be with him an elite secondary with Jesse Bates at safety. So that was just kind of my thinking. It was just adding another weapon for that secondary.
Well, the real first team I want to talk about is the Cleveland Browns. And the reason why I want to start with them is we kind of talked about this in the first overall kind of, or the top 10, I should say, of what we did. And it's the whole thing with the Browns of you've got Shedeur Sanders, I've got McMillan out of Arizona. And here's the thing. I know that the discussion that we want to have is Deshaun Watson's not the guy, and they should go quarterback this year, right? That's what I'm thinking. That's what you're thinking?
Yeah.
Here's my thought with the Browns. Deshaun Watson is under contract for 2 more years after this one. 2024, 2025, 2026. They're voiding the rest of his contract. He'll be a free agent at 32 in 2027. Now, the question for the Browns is 3 questions. 1, will Deshaun Watson make it that far because of everything he's got going around with him? 2, do you want to draft a quarterback this year and have him sit under Deshaun Watson for 2 years? Or, and this is the option I think they're going to go with, they're going to be like, let Deshaun be Deshaun. We're in on Arch Manning when that time comes.
Yeah, well, clearly based off my pick, I think that they just say screw it and go Shedeur.
You also have Shedeur very low. I don't think he lasts outside the top 10.
Again, that's what I said, dude. I'm not high on him. I'm really not. So, I mean, you're probably right. I think realistically, he goes inside the top 10.
Yeah.
But I don't think he warrants that. So that's why I have him falling. But for the Browns, dude, Massage Watson here, he just caught another charge for, sexual assault. Sorry for I should have given a trigger warning there, I guess. But
it is what it is.
But yeah, so I honestly feel like once we find out more information from that charge, that the Browns probably could have the right to just void the rest of his contract and release him.
That's what I meant by choice 1, by the way, of we don't know if he's going to make it to the end of that contract.
Okay, I thought you meant because he sucks. Because
no. I meant because of all. That's why I said all the stuff going on with him right now. You went into it. I just said stuff and left it at that.
Yeah, no, dude, I'll say this, and I'm not trying to be that guy, but I have zero respect for that guy. Like, absolutely none.
Why would you apologize for that?
But no, just because, like, some people...
You have the right to have your opinion.
No. Some people might be upset by, he said Massage Watson or whatever.
Who cares?
Nah. That's what I'm saying. So that's why I'm making it abundantly clear. I don't give a crap about people defending this guy.
I know you live right now in the Great White North where you can go to jail for saying things, but I live in the USA, baby.
Yeah.
You can have that opinion.
Yeah, but anyways,
USA.
back to the actual mock.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like the Browns, assuming they're getting rid of Watson, who sucks, this will be again another quarterback that they're gonna kick the can on and see if they can get something out of him. And I mean, again, he has a very high upside, I think a low floor. So we'll see, but I think again, and plus, dude, the Browns like making money. That's what, but I know all these teams do, and I feel like again, Shedeur will help sell jerseys. He'll help get excitement around the Browns, and that's I think again, I don't think the Browns are that dumb. I think they know that there's a bunch of negative things being said about them as an organization. Yeah. So they're gonna try and raise the vibes with getting somebody like Shedeur. So and yeah,
couple things. 1, I just don't think it's I just don't think it's realistic that Shedeur makes it past 10. That's just me. That's why we both had quarterback 1, 2. In my mind, that's Beck Shedeur. Now, the second thing of why you have Quinn Ewers, I'm gonna be completely honest, and I will spoil the rest of my draft. Quinn Ewers is not showing up in this first round. The reason why is and this is the caveat with it, is I have to wait and see what plays out at Texas. Because the way I'm looking at it, Arch is gonna arch out. He's gonna be Arch. Tom Brady is in Texas. He's in Austin. Quinn Ewers ain't gonna have a job when he's healthy. Because Arch is gonna take that thing. He's never gonna look back. So to me, I'm looking more on Quinn Ewers might not even be in this draft by the time we get to the end of the season, like we talked about earlier. And like with the Browns, it'll be a situation then of like, all right, Beck and Sanders are gone. Depending on how Cam Ward plays, I love Cam Ward. He's my favorite quarterback in this draft, but he hasn't done enough right now for me to warrant a 15th overall pick, unless the need was like absolutely dire. Like I will say the first time I did it with the order that we had, I had Cam Ward in the first round. Who did I have him to though? I had Cam Ward to somebody in like this place or lower. But then after redoing it with the new order and how things fell out, like it just didn't make sense. Now he could play up into a first round. This is probably where his absolute highest of ceilings are. But he hasn't done it yet, and I don't know if he's going to do it. So it's like the Browns, I think you sit there, and it's going to be, realistically, it'll be, do we reach for a quarterback, or do we go with another need, which to me right now, they're two top needs, well, top three needs. I'll throw in the third one. It's either wide receiver, offensive tackle, or D-line. Mason Graham would have been great for them, but the Cardinals took him at 11. It's like they could go offensive tackle, but what the next offensive tackle that I have that's on the board right now is Emory Jones out of LSU. So it's like a little bit of a reach there. And to me, wide receiver, McMillan was sitting there, second wide receiver off the board. Let's go ahead and go with that because I also look at their wide receiver contracts. Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, both of those are free agents after this year. Deshaun's going to need somebody to throw to next year if he's still the quarterback. Or if you draft a quarterback, they're going to need someone to throw to.
Yeah.
Jerry Jeudy will still be there, though.
I mean, but will he be there, though?
I mean, he's under contract at least.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's always hurt, though.
Yeah, true. So really they're losing Cooper, Jeudy, and Moore.
Yeah, I mean, but again, like something I'm realizing as well with this draft, and I feel like this might be just a new norm. I feel like this is a pretty deep wide receiver class. Maybe it doesn't like, well, I think it could have that elite top end of the wide receiver pool, but
I have the opposite thought only because last year's was so deep. That's why I think I have the thought of that it's not, but go ahead.
But yeah, I mean, there's guys like falling into the second round. Like I was struggling to put. I know we'll get to him later, but and it's a bit of a spoiler. But Agbuka, I was struggling to fit him into this first round. So that kind of just shows like some of these wide receivers could fall.
Yeah, they could. I look at it and I go. And I know this could be a conversation more for Friday. Check out the draft room. Watch it live if you're a patron. Patron link down below. Or it'll be out on Saturday as games are going on. But I just like, to me, Hunter, McMillan, Burden, bona fide first rounders. Emeka and Isaiah Bond, depending on if a team wants to go wide receiver. No. Here's the problem, though. You brought up Emeka, and that's why I'm going to bring this up. Emeka is not like the thing with last year, Xavier Worthy and Adonai Mitchell both went late in the first because like Xavier Worthy is fast. Adonai Mitchell is fast. Like these guys have skill sets and especially their speed that it's like, hey, we need that guy on this team. If they didn't have that, I don't know if Xavier Worthy goes in the first round.
Yeah, and that's and like that's kind of the like that's the thing. I'm looking because like again, I'm looking at this, and again, I could see somebody like Agbuka, yeah, Agbuka, like it's one of those things where he can either rise
Mm-hmm.
because of like his obviously his pure talent, or he can fall like into the second round, which will also push like the other top like our top wide receivers down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, they could. It's just the Browns wide receiver could, like they could go with numerous things. I'm bringing this back to the Browns a little bit. Numerous things. It's just I don't know if they go a quarterback. That's the one thing. The one team that I will kind of pivot us to, JD, and I'm glad that I'm gonna be honest, you brought this team up. I
Yeah.
wasn't gonna say let's talk about them. You brought them up. It's Da Bears. I'm glad you kind of brought them up because you have them going with an offensive lineman. And before
Yeah.
I ask you like your thought process with it, I was scrolling through Instagram Reels today and I came past, I don't know what the dude's name is. It's just local Chicago sports radio on the Score. And the guy basically said if you look at the Bears offensive line, right now they have Broxton Jones at left tackle, Tevin Jenkins left guard, Coleman Shelton at center, Nate Davis at right guard, and Darnell Wright at right tackle. He goes, you look at the Bears offensive line, they have guys that fit the same mold as like the type of player that Ryan Poles was, that Eberflus was. They weren't like Poles wasn't a guy that could live off talent. He had to live off of like his intelligence and being that smart guy. And it's like they don't have a guy on that offensive line that when he said it, I'm like, he kind of got a point. Kind of like an a-hole where it's like he's gonna be the bruiser. He's gonna be the guy that's just like, I'm a mean dude on that offensive line. And part of me is like, maybe that's just the Chicago, like, the 85 Bears, they were tough. Football players used to be tough back in my day. Maybe it's a little bit of that because the guy that was on the Score has about 30 years on me. Looked like he had 30 years on me. So, like, take that with a grain of salt. But, like, he did have a point where he's like, it's coaching, and he's like, I don't get why Poles and Eberflus think that offensive tackle it's an intelligence position. He goes, it's not. It's a physical position. It's not an intelligence quarterback, yes. Physical. I want my linemen to be physical at the point of attack. And it seems like the Bears don't have that.
Yeah, I mean, and like that's kind of like I think it's more so they've taken risks
Mm-hmm.
that just haven't paid off. Like
Yep.
Tevin Jenkins, I really liked him coming out of the
Mm-hmm.
draft, but his big issue was injuries, and he was coming off a back injury.
Yep.
Unfortunately for him, he's been hurt in the NFL, but
Uh-huh.
when he's played, he's been really good.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I feel like I forget, do they still have James Daniels? Like I was
Here, let
looking
me
at
see.
this.
I've got their depth chart up there.
Bears.
They do. If they do, he's not healthy. I don't think they do.
Because
No, he is not listed on their depth chart.
okay, yeah, so because I'm looking at it now, so they have Braxton Jones, who
Mm-hmm.
again, he had a high ceiling
Yeah.
coming out of high school
Mm-hmm.
and his early part of his college out of Ohio State.
Yeah.
Or sorry, Utah Southern.
You're thinking
And
Braxton. What was it? Braxton Miller,
yeah,
Ohio
yeah,
State.
or yeah, freaking stupid names.
Uh
I'm on a roll today. But yeah, so he had high upside, I feel like in an early part of his like college career, and it just
hmm
kind of he just didn't really improve much. But again, that was a 5th-round pick in
Yeah.
2022, so you don't really expect much from them. And granted, credit to him, I mean, he's a starting offensive lineman in the NFL currently.
Mm-hmm.
But like again, that's something you can upgrade on. Like I said, Tevin Jenkins, he's injured or
Mm-hmm.
questionable at least. And then Darnell Wright, again, I love that pick. That was a good pick, and he's played well.
Mm-hmm.
1st-round pick in 2023.
Yeah.
And great, you got that pick right. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you still want him to develop, but whatever, good for you. But yeah, then besides that, like besides basically Jenkins, again, great, like good player, just hurt.
Mm-hmm.
You've taken a bunch of shots in the dark. You have Nate Davis, who I know you didn't draft him, but you brought him in, and I don't think he's starter quality, but
Mm-hmm.
he's forced to start on this offensive line. Um, and again, Bears fans, I know you have injuries currently,
Mm-hmm.
but that shows me two things. One being, well, your depth obviously sucks, and I mean, I can't blame you too heavily on that because most depth offensive linemen aren't great,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still part of the issue.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, they've tried to do these like high risk, high reward picks all the time. And the problem is you can't do that with every single one of your offensive lineman picks.
Mm-hmm.
You have to you at least have to take the safe guy, even if that's later in the draft. If it's somebody who doesn't have a high ceiling, but like he projects to be a average starter or a little above average, then
Mm-hmm.
okay, take that guy in like the 3rd round.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's like they've tried to take these big swings and it just hasn't worked out. So that's why for me, that's why I have them going. I'm just gonna call him Jonah from Arizona.
Are you not gonna
The
try that last name?
I already tried it, and you said it, and
Yeah,
I
it's Savania or
Sav
Savi. Yeah, Savania,
Saviana
I think it is. Jonah
Savania
Savania.
Jonah Savania. That's why I have him going to the Bears because I think he has an upside, a
Mm-hmm.
good upside, but he also, in my opinion, has a high floor. And like Sam in the Discord has been saying,
Mm-hmm.
the Bears' interior offensive line has been dog water. It's
Yep.
been horrible. And yes, again, the injuries, but you need to solidify that. Most people
Mm-hmm.
obviously just want to talk about tackles, but if you're going up against somebody like Chris Jones or any of the other elite defensive tackles,
Mm-hmm.
they're just going to eat you alive and you're going
Yeah.
to give your center zero help.
Yeah, I have a weird take here. And this is gonna sound like it's not gonna make sense, but I think it does. If the Bears are gonna go offensive line right now, they have Bears fans, if you want an offensive lineman, you gotta hope that this team sucks and they're in the top 10. Or you gotta hope they do well enough to be like 18, 19, 20 or later. Because I think that right now, any offensive lineman for me would have been a reach. And I know that like it's all Riggy, if you're getting the right guy, it's not a reach. But like for me, it's like I get the middle ground. It's gonna be they have to reach on it. Now, yet again, and that's the caveat, all podcasts. We have a long way until April. A lot of time for things to change. This is just us getting kind of our thoughts on paper. But the last team here in the middle that I want to bring up is my Minnesota Vikings. Skull. JD, when I was going through my mock draft after I made this pick, I had to take a little bit of a break from my mock. Got a little bit too excited, if you know what I mean. If Luther Burden is there and gets drafted to the Vikings, I'm gonna get a Luther Burden jersey. I know you mentioned you loved this guy before the season started. JD, 3 games in, I'm on that bandwagon. I'm on the Luther Burden bandwagon for the Mizzou Tigers. And like, this is now my wet dream of Jay Jett is on one side, Jordan Addison, DUI free, by the way. He's got to be DUI free. On the other side, and then right there in the slot, Luther Burden the third. Tell me that doesn't pan out to be one of the best wide receiver cores in the NFL. Not day one, but eventually, as Luther Burden develops, oh man, mama, I'm about to make a name for myself. That gets me excited. Like, this is something too that, do the Vikings probably have bigger needs? Like maybe a cornerback? Maybe some defensive line? Like, if my board would have fell out differently, if the Vikings would have been at 11 and not 12, they don't make this pick. They go at Mason Graham. But because Mason Graham goes to the Cardinals at 11, because with cornerback, the next cornerback on my board was Denzel Burke, Luther Burden's the dude here. If he ends up being a Viking, I'll be the happiest fan in the world.
Yeah, no, it's a very good pick. Mm-hmm. For myself though, like, because I thought about that. Truthfully, I think the pick makes a lot of sense. Like, just BPA, you can make the argument. But for myself, I went with Malachi Starks, the safety from Georgia, because even though I mentioned earlier I don't see the value in taking a safety that high, I think on my big board, I do think he's very talented.
Yeah.
So I think you guys just, like, your offense has surprised me. I honestly, and I know your defense has also been pretty good, but I think if you have the ability to add somebody who, again, will be a day one starter and eventually an elite safety, I think you should take that type of swing and build the Vikings back to what they were known for and having an elite defense. And I think he could be a piece of that.
What would it be? It doesn't have a good ring. MVGA. Make the Vikings great again. That's what I heard from you, JD. Make the MVGA. It doesn't roll off the tongue. Like, there's no word. You can't say a word MVGA from it, but MVGA. See, it doesn't even. We got to work on that one. But all I could think about is, from what you're saying, is, oh, he's saying make the Vikings great again. I'm on top of it. Sam Darnold, by the way, could be comeback player of the year.
Yeah, so far.
Do you want to hear an interesting stat about Sam Darnold before we move on?
Sure.
Sam Darnold 2-0 has brought the Vikings to 2-0 to start the year. Something that Kirk Cousins never did with the Vikings.
Dang. That's actually crazy.
He's better than Kirka. What can I say? JD, our last segment, 21 through 32. Take us through it, brother. What's your 21 through 32?
So at 21, the New Orleans Saints are taking Cam Ward, the quarterback from Miami. At 22, the Packers are taking Tyler Booker, interior offensive line from Alabama. At 23, the Bengals are taking Deion Walker, defensive line from Kentucky. At 24, the Dallas Cowboys are taking Ashton Genty, running back from Boise State. At 25, the Jets are taking Colston Loveland, tight end from Michigan. At 26, the Baltimore Ravens are taking Emory Jones, offensive tackle, LSU. At 27, the Eagles are taking JT Tuimoloau, edge from Ohio State. At 27, the Eagles are, sorry, I just said that. At 28, the Lions are taking Takario Davis, cornerback from Arizona. At 29, the Texans are taking Ariante Ursi, offensive tackle from Minnesota. At 30, the Bills are taking Tyleek Williams, defensive line from Ohio State. At 31, the 49ers are taking Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver from Ohio State. And at 32, the Kansas City Chiefs take Walter Nolan, defensive line from Ole Miss.
All right, for my 21 through 30, we're going to go with the Saints at 21, taking Emory Jones, offensive tackle, LSU. Then the Packers done with Jonah Savania, interior offensive lineman from Arizona. The Bengals at 23 going with Tacario Davis, cornerback from Arizona. Teammates going back to back. Number 24, my Cowboys. We need my Ginties out there because Ashton Ginty getting drafted, running back out of Boise State. My Ginties. I need my Ginties to roll off in the comment section for Ashton Ginty. Jets like you, JD at 25. I got Colson Loveland, Tennessee out of Michigan. Ravens at 26, going with Tyleek Williams, D lineman from the Ohio State University. The Eagles are going to go with a similar JT Tuamoloau, edge rusher from the Ohio State. Lions at 28 going Isaiah Bond, wide receiver from Texas. Texans going to go with Siobhan Revel Jr., cornerback from East Carolina. The Bills at 30 going to go with Kevin Winston Jr., the safety out of Penn State. Then at 31, I'm going to have Ariante Irsay, offensive tackle out of Minnesota, the Niners, and Tyler Booker, interior offensive lineman from Roll Tide, Alabama. We don't give a piss about nothing but the Tide, going at 32. JD, quick question for you.
Yeah.
Ravens, not a lot of time, just one question. What are the odds they're not here at 26 and they're actually in the top 15 of the draft?
I would say they're not high. They're not good odds.
So you think they will end up being at this part of the draft?
No, I don't. I think that I think they'll be probably somewhere from 22 to 17.
Okay.
I honestly think that they'll just miss the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, they definitely have some concerns. Their defense hasn't looked good, and that's to be expected after losing pieces. And their offensive line has looked pretty bad. And again, they lost pieces on that offensive line.
I'm going to tell you this. You know, it's going to be very humorous with the Ravens. And here's something to think about. The next 3 weeks are going to, the question that I asked you, it will be decided in the next 3 weeks. Because this week, they play at Dallas. It's a toss-up game because Dallas looked great week 1, looked like crap week 2. And they're playing in Dallas, and Dallas didn't look good in Dallas. They play Dallas week 3. They then play Buffalo at home Sunday Night Football. And then they have the Bengals week 5 in Cincinnati. And here's the thing, JD. This kind of pans out because with the Bengals, you might be saying, oh, Reggie, we might be 0-4 at that point because, you know, you're really down yourself. But as Gridiron Heights joked about today in the video I watched, about what week do the Bengals start to pick it up, JD?
Week 4.
Week 4, week 5? So that's right on par with the Ravens. Dude, if this team loses the next 3, there's no way they're making the playoffs. There's no way they're getting 15 or later. They're going to be a top pick.
0-5.
Yeah, they're going to be a top pick.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, even if they go 1-2 in the next 2 games, they're done. They're done.
Yeah.
They won't be done. Let's be honest. After that, they play the Commanders, then the Bucks. Then listen to this little schedule. The Browns, the Broncos, the Bengals, the Steelers, the Chargers, and the Eagles. That's 3 wins right there. Steelers, Browns, and Broncos. Ravens aren't done. I just find it interesting that they're so bad to start the year. And by bad, I mean they lost.
Yeah. Like, again, I want to reserve judgment because they were a toe from beating the Chiefs. And
yes, the Isaiah Likely toe.
Yeah, and they played well, like, but again,
Mhm.
they showed their issues,
Yep.
and then they completely crapped the bed against the Raiders, and so that's what made me
Mhm.
like, maybe this team isn't as good as I thought, but
Yeah.
again, in a different world, they could be 1-1,
They could be.
right?
Could be 2-0 in a different multiverse.
Yeah.
So, real question though. We talked about my team. I want to talk about your team, the Bengals. You got D line. I've got cornerback. Seems we both agree that defense should be the target here for the Bengals. Why D line over cornerback?
Because I've been saying that they've needed D line for like the last 4 years.
Uh huh.
Um, basically, no. My reasoning though is this team, even against the Chiefs this past weekend,
Mm-hmm.
the only one doing anything off the defensive line was Trey Hendrickson, and he
Mm-hmm.
almost wrecked that game for the Chiefs. He had 2 sacks, 3 penalties, should have been 6 penalties
Mm-hmm.
called against the Chiefs. And then, yeah, and I think he had like 8 pressures
Mm-hmm.
in the game. And yes, he was going against your boy Kingsley Suamataia,
Yep.
but again, and he benched him. You don't really
Mm-hmm.
see that often
Yeah.
in a football game
Mm-hmm.
in the NFL level. But no one else on the defensive line really did anything. And not I know this doesn't maybe make a factor next year,
Mm-hmm.
but the Bengals are currently on their 6th and 7th string defensive tackle
Yeah.
because of injuries. So that kind of, they need a pass rusher from that 3 tech spot. Dion Walker has, again, he could be a big riser, quite
Mm-hmm.
honestly, because he has all the tools.
Well, I had him all the way up at 17.
Yeah, no, but I'm talking about even like top
Mm-hmm.
5. Because he has all the pass rush tools
Yeah.
at the college level.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, needs to refine some things. He
Mm-hmm.
he projects to be a good
Stopper.
defender as well. Yeah, because he holds it. He anchors well on
Mm-hmm.
blocks and is able to get the running back once they're busting through his hole.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and I mean, with pass rushing though, he like his hand placement's good.
Mm-hmm.
He has good pass rush moves. It's just yeah, it's just he needs to put up a little bit more production.
JD, I'll be honest. I always have like 1 or 2 picks when we get to the day of recording that I'm like, I should have thought about this one a little bit more.
Well, yeah.
Because like, so in my mind right now, just barely when we get to actually, I'm gonna check myself before I wreck myself, JD.
Well, while you do that, can I just
Go ahead,
mention you
preach.
taking corner? So I get wanting, like, I would say Takario Davis could be considered one of the best players available at this
Yeah, I'm an
point.
idiot.
But the only reason why I wouldn't take a corner is
Mm-hmm.
because you already have Dax Hill, who just switched from safety to corner. You have
Mm-hmm.
Cam Taylor-Britt, who's primed for a massive season, had probably already going to be the interception
Mm-hmm.
of the year. And
The
then you
one-handed
also have,
interception.
yeah, and then you also have DJ Turner, who was a second-round pick to not this past draft, but the draft
Mm-hmm.
before, and he still has a chance. He still has good upside and could start.
Yeah,
So
I probably should have had Tyleek Williams in that spot because looking at my big board too, I was like, did I have Davis above Williams? Nope, I got Williams above Davis in my big board. I don't know probably what I was thinking, JD, and this is probably where this mix-up happened. When I had the fun version that I thought we were gonna do, the Bengals were the number 1 pick because they're also 0-2. And I had Trevi Hunter going to the Bengals. And I think what I did was, I had them wide receiver cornerback guy. Oh, let me go ahead and put him with one of those. I'm going to put him. This happens. Sometimes it happens where a pick isn't the best pick. I apologize, Bengals fans. I probably should have. Ginty would have been a better pick.
yeah,
Than
I've seen people
cornerback.
mock as Ginty, but again, like, this is the thing. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
for the people watching,
it's
obviously,
another year. Cowboys taking a running back in the first round. We got to. For the memes, JD.
But no, like that's what I just want to say is like obviously if you disagree, that's perfectly fine.
Yep.
But I think it's very important to remember it is a 1.0 and we are in week 3 of the NFL season.
We're entering week 3.
Or entering week 3 of the NFL season. So I mean, obviously there's gonna be guys on this list who aren't first round talents.
I'll be honest.
And there's gonna be guys that we haven't even talked about that are gonna rise up.
There's gonna be a numerous amount of guys that are on this list that don't even make it to the last one.
Yeah.
That aren't even on the list. Let me see. 2024 NFL. This is I'm just going to do this for the funsies. So no, last year's.
Oh.
So if we look at last year, you're right. I named it wrong. So last year's mock draft that I did, because I was doing them by myself last year, towards the end of the draft, some guys that I don't even like, their names didn't even make it to the first round. How about Leonard Taylor III? Cameron Kitchens wasn't a first rounder, was he?
Nope. I was super high on him.
Graham Burton? Was he a first rounder?
The offensive lineman?
Was he a first rounder?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Bullock, the safety out of USC.
Yeah, no.
Dude, here's an example. My 1.0, I had Malik Neighbors as the 28th pick in the draft.
Dang.
By the 5.0, Malik Neighbors was up to, where is he? Yeah, by my 5.0, he was number 9.
Yeah.
So like there's that caveat too of like Drake May I had at 25. That was also, people chastised me for that. I was not high on Drake May. I still am not. Mawson Smith was at 26th and he ended up, didn't he go higher?
No, Mason Smith was like a 3rd rounder.
No, isn't it Mawson because he has the AA?
Brother, we had this conversation.
I thought
already.
It was Mawson Smith.
No, we had this conversation during the draft.
Okay. JC Latham, I had 24, ended up being a top 10 pick. Cooper DeJean at 21. Jerzon Newton at 18. But even like I had Ibuka in my first rounder last year, didn't come out. I had Denzel Burks at 23, didn't come out, or Burke. I had JT Tuimoloau at 10. I had him 10 last year.
Yeah.
And he's still in the draft. So it's like, just because someone comes out or they're on this list right now doesn't mean this is what it's going to be by the time we get to late April.
Exactly.
However, JD, last thing I want to end the podcast on, you were the one to do it, man. You were the one to do it. I couldn't do it. I didn't want to hype up my boy too much. But I have to give you a round of applause because you got my boy in the first round.
Yeah.
My quarterback, Cam Ward. He's been lighting it up for the U. Now I'll be completely honest. He has not played the best. He hasn't played the best competition. And yes, I know they played Florida. That is a stab at Florida.
That's not saying much. That's not saying that's. No,
Florida's so dumb they don't even know what quarterback they want to go with when the choice is clear.
Yeah, likewise.
When you told me they were starting Mertz, I was like, wait, what? They started Mertz?
Yep.
But JD, why the Saints though for Cam Ward? Because I have some disagreements here.
Well, you have disagreements.
Yes, I don't think the Saints even think about quarterback.
Now, okay. I do not like Derek Carr, and this is going to be the MVP.
So it's the Derek Carr hatred coming out here.
No, it's the fact that they've neglected besides Spencer Rattler.
Oh. I'm sorry, the other guy they drafted just got skin cancer.
Who?
The dude out of or was it something with eye cancer? That Jake Hayner,
good.
The Fresno State quarterback.
Oh,
didn't it come out? I gotta look at it. I thought he had eye cancer or something.
But no, okay. So Derek Carr, I mean, he so far this season, I'm not even gonna say he's proven me wrong because he's always done this. He's played well enough in the regular season. Bro gets to the playoffs, folds. And then the last 2 years, he's just sucked. He's just been terrible. So I don't think he's a good quarterback. I think you can easily upgrade.
Yeah.
And Cam Ward is that guy. They haven't taken a quarterback in the first round, and I've been saying that they should for the last since Drew Brees retired. So like 8 years ago, 7 years ago, whatever it was. And this is their chance. Cam Ward has played very well. He's played better than I thought he would at Miami. And yeah, I have him as the 20th overall pick, but like I mentioned previous podcasts, I could see him moving into that top 3.
Yeah.
That top 3 pick range.
Yeah, and by the way, Hainer was the quarterback from Fresno State they drafted 2 drafts ago. Yeah, he was the one that in the offseason was like, yo guys, I got skin cancer.
Jesus. Hope he beats it.
Yeah.
No, that's brutal.
Yeah, that was the date they have here is July 26th. He announced that he was diagnosed with skin cancer. So it's not their fault one of their quarterbacks got cancer.
No, but my point is they've neglected to draft a first round quarterback, and Spencer Rattler. I know he's
dog.
Decent. I know he's looked decent in like training camp and whatever, but I mean that guy. He could be an okay starter, maybe, but I would if you're telling me I could either have Cam Ward or Spencer Rattler, I'm taking Cam Ward every day of the week.
Yeah, I am too, but I think you're overlooking something. And my boy Jake Neverman, I got you back out there. This team's got Clint now. Clint's answering all of their problems. You know what I'm talking about, right? Clint Kubiak, baby, the offensive coordinator for this team. He's working with Derek Carr. He's got this offense reimagined, like Jake said, and I'm gonna agree with him. It's not a coincidence that Clint. He was the big guy. Ooh, he's the guy, the pass coordinator with the Niners. He leaves. Saints offense looks really good. Niners offense doesn't look that good. It looks a little bit out of sorts.
Yeah.
Clint's in town, man. Derek Carr is rejuvenated, and to be honest, let's be honest, if Clint's there and he can get this out of Derek Carr, they got 2 more years of Derek Carr on the books that there is no way they are drafting a quarterback this year to then draft under him. They will. Go ahead.
You know who we said that about?
Who?
The Packers drafting Jordan Love.
Yeah, but the Saints aren't the Packers. The Packers are known for that. They did that with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers.
Still not common.
Yeah, it's not common, but like that's what the Packers do. If they like a guy like that, they go ahead and take him. They don't even care about their guy. Aaron Rodgers did it to Brett Favre. Then Jordan Love did it to Aaron Rodgers. Guess what? Down the line, like 10 years from now, somebody will do it to Jordan Love. It's just how the Packers work. I saw a quarterback and I was just like, the Saints? Really? Really? Yeah. Instead of getting help for Derek Carr, getting them some pass blocking.
Help doesn't matter. That guy can't even help himself.
As he's having a great year. They're going to roll the Falcons now, by the way.
Yeah, I'm already fully expecting. He's going to throw for like 500 yards and like 4 touchdowns.
Hey, man, as long as he keeps throwing them to Alvin Kamara, I'm okay with that. It's a great year to have Kamara in fantasy, just saying. When a lot of people are like, oh, man, I don't know if I'd keep him. By the way, though, with Cam Ward, through like, what, 4 games? 3 games? He's thrown. Now, I will say, his competition that he's played, Florida A&M, Ball State. Got to take that with a caveat. Got to take that with a caveat.
Yeah,
but JD, what's the one thing you said about Cam Ward at the beginning of the year? What does he have to not do?
Turn the ball over, especially with fumbles.
Okay. Well, 11 touchdowns to 1 interception. And I believe he's had 0 fumbles so far.
Yeah, I haven't seen him fumble, but
yeah,
I'm not watching every Miami game religiously.
But also the interceptions. He's only had 1 this year. He's got over 1,000 yards right now. Now, I will say, for the 15th millionth time, the schedule he has played is dog water.
And it's going to continue to be dog water.
Yeah, I was just going to
say. They don't play anybody.
Yeah, so they play South Florida. Then they play Virginia Tech, who has not been good. Then they play Cal, who has not been good.
Yep.
Then they play Louisville, who might be their first toughest team they play.
Yep.
And that's October 19th. Then they play Florida State, who's been dog water.
They've been the worst FBS team.
Then they play Duke, Duke's 3-0. So, I mean, their record is good. Then they play probably the hardest team on their schedule right now, Georgia Tech. Because Georgia Tech might be the hardest team on their schedule. Then they play Wake Forest and Syracuse. Their toughest games may be Louisville, Georgia Tech, and Syracuse. This team might go undefeated.
That's what I was just going to say. They might go undefeated. I'm going to want to throw myself off the nearest bridge.
But Cam Ward, baby, he's the man. Cam Ward, the U. They're going to make the playoff, JD. They're going to make the playoff this year.
It's a Mickey Mouse playoff.
Oh, it's not a Mickey. It's a 12-team. It's a 12-team playoff.
Mickey Mouse.
You know what the championship game is going to be, right?
What?
Texas, Georgia. They're going to meet 3 times this year, man.
Yeah.
They're going to meet once in the regular season. They're going to meet in the SEC championship game. And then they're going to meet in the national championship game.
I know Bama looks pretty good.
For now. Until they play Georgia. Does Alabama play Texas?
Kirby struggles against Bama.
Yeah, but Nick Saban's not there no more. He struggles against Nick Saban. There's a difference. Let's see. Do they play Texas or... Oh, their next game is going to be great.
Why?
Oh, it's Georgia.
No.
On the 28th.
Wait, that's not this weekend,
so they're
right?
off this weekend, and then next weekend they play Georgia.
Dang, that is going to be a good game.
They play Tennessee on October 19th. They play Mizzou on the 26th. They play Oklahoma on the 23rd. Dude, Alabama got easy. They got Alabama ducking Texas. They got them ducking Texas. Boo! Boo, SEC schedule makers. JD, very quickly, any final thoughts on our mock draft?
No, it was good to get the first one out. Definitely more difficult than I figured it would be going into it. but no, I mean, yeah, it was good. I'm curious to see when we look back in a little less than a year, what players are sticking, what players are rising, and which ones are falling.
Well, our next mock draft, I will say this, I'll let you guys know now because we have them planned out. Our next mock draft, the 2.0, I can put it in here that we are done with this one. So I'm going to read out that. The next mock draft, JD, will be the podcast after week 9. So we have now until November. So the next one, 2.0, will be the week after week 9. So we'll see about 8 or 9 games from teams, see where we're at, kind of the midway point of the year. We'll see where we are in November for our next one. But you guys let us know what you guys think down below in that comment section. Also, stay tuned later this week, Friday, for our patrons. You can go ahead, support us. $5. You get to watch the podcast live as we record them. Otherwise, it'll be up on Saturday. Our big board comes out this week as well. JD and I are going to be talking about these prospects more in depth to the prospects, not the NFL team. So check that out this week. Let us know what you guys think. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all of our social medias down below. Like button, sub button, hit all those good things. Comment section, like I said. I want to hear from my Ginties in the comment section. Let's go. My Ashton Ginty fans. I'm putting it on ourselves, JD, that if you're an Ashton Ginty fan, we're all going to group together. We're calling ourselves Ginties.
Okay.
What up, my Ginty? Are you a Ginty?
No.
No, you're not a Ginty.
No.
I need to hear from my Ginties down in the comment section. But JD, thank you for a great podcast. Wouldn't want to do it with anyone else but you.
Yeah.
I take that back. There's one person that I would choose, but you guys are equal.
Yeah, Bull.
You know, I don't know if you know who it is. You could guess, but like
Mark or Brandon?
Mark.
Yeah.
Because that's the original crew.
Yeah, no, I know. That's what I'm saying. But I feel like you wanted more, and that's why I call it BS.
No. I thought you were gonna say like Jake or Dave or something. Like someone here.
I would have taken offense to that. I would have taken
I know you would have. That's why I'm like, I hope he doesn't think one of those. But let us know what you guys think down below. And as always, have a good day, everybody.
See ya.
As always, we'd like to thank the people that make these videos possible, our patrons whose names are displayed on the screen now. If you would like to become a patron, go ahead and click the Patreon icon in the bottom right. And if you'd like to check out another video from MVP Sports, hit the video in the upper left. As always, thanks for watching.